All right, so today we're going to take a deep dive into this customer service representative career path.
Sure.
I was looking through all this material you sent over, and it seems like there's a lot more to it than meets the eye.
Yeah, you could say that. It's definitely not your grandma's customer service role anymore.
Well, that's what we're here to find out, right?
Exactly.
So let's jump right in. I was really surprised to learn from RoleCatcher that only 57% of people in this role have a college degree. I mean, that's a slight majority,
Yeah.
but I was expecting it to be way higher.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting because it really shows you that experience and soft skills can be just as important in this field, you know?
Yeah.
Like you can't really learn empathy from a textbook.
You really can.
You've got to like cultivate it through experience.
It's true. And speaking of experience, I have to admit, before all this, I thought CRM software sounded kind of intimidating, but RoleCatcher actually broke it down in a way that made it seem a lot less scary. Like it's really more of a tool than a barrier.
I think so. Once you understand how to use those systems, they can be incredibly powerful.
For sure.
Like imagine having a superpower that helps you remember every customer interaction, predict their needs, and then offer personalized solutions. That's CRM.
Okay, so you're saying it's less like rocket science and more like a superpower.
Exactly.
I like that. I like that a lot. Now, another thing that stood out to me was how much responsibility even entry-level customer service reps have.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not just answering phones anymore.
Not at all.
They're basically on the front lines of gathering feedback and contributing to company improvements.
Yeah, they're like the eyes and ears of an organization. They're the first to know when something's wrong or if there's a trend developing.
And I think that's what makes this career path so much more than it seems at first glance. You're not just solving problems. You're potentially influencing how a company operates.
Right. And that's a lot of responsibility, but it can also be very rewarding.
For sure. So was there anything in the research that really brought that to life for you?
Yeah, there was this quote from the senior customer service representative profile in RoleCatcher that really stuck with me. It said, analyzing customer feedback, I have made valuable recommendations for improvement, contributing to enhanced customer satisfaction.
Wow.
And I think that perfectly illustrates how their actions can directly impact the company's success.
Totally. It's like they have a direct line to the company's decision makers, and they're not afraid to use it.
That's awesome. Now, I know we've touched on career progression, but I'm curious to hear more about those adjacent career paths that RoleCatcher mentioned. Like, what other doors can this role open?
Oh, there are tons of possibilities. That's what I find so exciting about this field.
Really?
Yeah, it's not a dead end. It's more like a launch pad.
I like it.
The skills you develop in a customer service role, like communication, problem solving, empathy, even data analysis, they're all transferable to a wide range of roles.
So you're saying it's not just a job, it's an investment in a skill set that can take you in all sorts of directions.
Exactly.
Dang, I love that.
It's about opening doors, not closing them.
That's a great way to put it. So it's like customer service is constantly evolving.
It really is. I mean, think about how much technology has changed the way we interact with businesses.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We've gone from phone calls to emails to chatbots to social media. It's like a whole new world out there.
It is. And customer service has had to adapt every step of the way.
And it's not just about keeping up with the technology itself.
Right.
It's about understanding how to use that technology to have better interactions with customers.
Exactly.
Which brings us to RoleCatcher's interview prep section. I was really impressed by how they talked about using AI to help you tailor your application and even practice answering common interview questions.
Oh, yeah. That's huge.
It's like having a personalized interview coach in your pocket.
Right. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of it.
It really does. Speaking of insightful questions, they highlighted one that I thought was really interesting. It was, can you describe a time when you went above and beyond for a customer?
Oh, yeah. That's a classic.
What are your thoughts on that one?
Well, I think it's all about showcasing your passion for creating positive customer experiences. It's not just about following procedures.
Yeah.
It's about showing initiative, empathy, and a genuine desire to help.
I love that genuine desire to help. And you know what? That really came through in those day-in-the-life descriptions on RoleCatcher.
Totally.
Even when they were talking about tasks like managing data or reporting trends, there was this underlying sense of, being there for the customer no matter what.
Yeah, it's about being an advocate for the customer within the organization. Sometimes that means finding creative solutions to complex problems, and sometimes it just means lending a listening ear.
That's so true. And let's be real, not every customer interaction is going to be easy.
Oh, no, definitely not.
We have to talk about those challenging situations.
Uh-huh.
RoleCatcher actually mentioned dealing with difficult customers as a potential downside of the job.
Right, and that's just the reality of any customer-facing role. But it's how you handle those situations that truly matters.
For sure.
You need to be able to stay calm under pressure, de-escalate conflict, and find a resolution that works for everyone involved.
It's almost like being a therapist and a detective rolled into one.
Right.
You need those sharp problem-solving skills,
Yeah.
but also that high emotional intelligence to navigate those tricky interpersonal dynamics. And that can be tough. I have to admit, before we got into this research, I hadn't really considered the emotional toll this job can take.
Yeah, it's easy to overlook that.
You're constantly interacting with people, often when they're stressed or frustrated.
It's true, and it's important to acknowledge that aspect of the role.
Absolutely.
Resilience and self-care are essential for preventing burnout.
RoleCatcher actually listed high stress levels as a potential drawback, which I appreciated because they weren't trying to sugarcoat it. Did they offer any insights on how to manage that stress?
They briefly mentioned finding healthy coping mechanisms outside of work, which I thought was important.
Yeah, it's about finding that balance,
Yeah,
being there for the customer, but also setting healthy boundaries for yourself.
definitely, because you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah, exactly. So we've talked about the demands of the role, the career progression possibilities, the use of AI, even the emotional intelligence required. It seems like there are so many layers to this seemingly straightforward job title. What's your overall impression of the research we've covered?
Yeah, it really makes you think differently about these kinds of jobs. They're often seen as just a stepping stone. But the reality is it takes a really unique set of skills and personality traits to excel in this field.
It's true. Not everyone can handle the pressure and the emotional demands,
Yeah.
or even just the constant problem solving.
Exactly.
But for those who thrive in that kind of environment, it can be incredibly rewarding.
Absolutely. It's about having that genuine desire to help people, even when they're not at their best.
And being able to communicate effectively is huge too, right?
Oh, for sure.
You're the one who has to bridge that gap between what the customer needs and what the company can actually do.
Exactly. You have to be able to explain things, clearly manage expectations, and build trust. And sometimes that means just listening and letting the customer vent.
It's true. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just be there and emphasize.
Absolutely.
It humanizes the business.
Yeah.
It shows there's a real person behind the product or service. So thinking back on all the research we've done, was there anything that really surprised you about the role of feedback in this field?
I was really struck by the emphasis on continuous learning and development.
Oh, yeah.
Customer service reps are constantly getting feedback, both good and bad.
Right.
And they need to be able to use that feedback to grow and improve.
It's like they're under a microscope, but instead of being afraid of it, they use it to get better.
Precisely, it's about having a growth mindset and being open to constructive criticism.
And that ties back to the fact that this field is always changing, right?
Yes.
Technology is evolving, customer expectations are shifting. You need to be adaptable and willing to learn new things.
Definitely. The best customer service reps aren't just order takers. They're problem solvers, communicators, relationship builders. They're passionate about creating those positive customer experiences.
They're the human touch in a world that's becoming increasingly automated, and that's something that will never go out of style. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of customer service representatives, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from all this?
Well, I hope they come away with a better understanding of just how complex and valuable this role really is.
I think that's a great takeaway.
It's not just a job. It's a career path with real potential.
Well said. And for anyone listening who wants to explore this further, we encourage you to check out RoleCatcher. They have a ton of great information. You can also dive into the Occupational Outlook Handbook and see where this path might lead you. You might be surprised by what you discover.